Alright, part 7 of 7. I don't know how many parts. Part 7 of however many parts this ends up being. In the last video, we finished the war. We had to do a couple autosaves just, you know, be nice and safe, but we did it, guys. We saved the city. And now we just gotta get working on, restoring stuff. Alright, so there we go. Improved weaponry equipment. Let's do some support weapons. And then I say we go for... It's almost 65. We'll do a horizontal industrial organization. Get that going. Victorious at last. Dip, dip, cheerio. So he did side with us, so we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully we can convince him to, you know, join up with us peacefully. Because I'd rather not have, the Scots upset with us in some, in some horrible timeline like, modern 2020. No, I'd rather have us all work together. I can already tell that, I'm gonna have to fight the Welsh. Jesus Christ. They're 100% despotous. Yeah, they're just outright saying democracy is dead. Oh, Jesus. The first reaction was when a shot. Was this really it? Did that announcement really happen? At the front, there was a bit of hesitation. No one wanted to stand up before the men on the other side did. But slowly the trickle of the collaborators began. They came as individuals, first walking over with their hands up, then became groups, marching under white flags, then became a flood, as the entire army disarmed and marched over to give up. Many were tired, some were sad, others were happy it was over. The rebels were tired as well, but there was a growing euphoria among them. The civilians were the next to crawl out. Most of them were hiding in their basements, hoping the white bed sheets and the construction of their homes would keep them safe. After the shelling stopped, they knew something was up. Then came why am I forgetting what it's short for now? God damn it. The HMM LR cars, proclaiming the announcement from their speakers. The civilians then came out looking at the destruction and the victorious army marching forward, while the vanquished were being herded towards the rear. Far beyond the front lines in His Majesty's most loyal resistance territory, the mood was a lot less subdued. Massive celebrations broke out all over free England. Everywhere ran dry of alcohol, consumed by the revelers. They crowded around His Majesty's most loyal resistance headquarters, calling for Alexander, for Auchinleck, for Stirling, and when one showed up, they cheered euphorically. And who could blame them? The suffering and bloodshed was over. Families would not be bombed out. The young men of England could grow up. No longer would England ask to bear the terrible sacrifice it had endured. And England would know freedom. The last of our enemies is laid now. From here... It's a cornerstone democracy. For years, England was the main force behind freedom and democracy throughout the globe. The entire might of our nation ensured the world would always stand against despots and would-be world conquerors. But today our system is broken, and England is controlled by an emergency military dictatorship. We must restore democracy as soon as possible to make good on our promise to the population, and to show we really are trying to create a free and democratic England. That works with me. I don't know about chat, but that works with me. I don't know who's still over in chat. It says only me. I have 2 viewers. Guess I'm the only one who's technically active in chat. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm probably gonna start wrapping it up. Maybe soon. I don't know. Oh, yep. Poet is dead, a slave to honor. As always, the country without a focus tree had to go and actually win it. There goes Meyer land route. Feels bad. How's our population? There goes the partisans. Democracy is poggers. I agree. I agree, Thomas. Democracy is pretty pogchamp. Coins from democracy. Let's start undoing their evils. England is wounded. None can deny that our land is a shattered remnant of what it once was. The Civil War caused much destruction. It is true. Tens of thousands of needless deaths and entire towns left broken by shells and gunfire. Yet the collaborationist government did a great deal of damage in their rule as well, damage far harder to heal. Our academics were hunted or forced to toe the government's line. The unions of workers beaten into submission or forced underground altogether. To say nothing of the political persecution of opposition parties, it falls now to Her Majesty's most loyal resistance to repair the damage, to undo what went wrong, and give the people a glimmer of hope that the future was promising will be worth the wait. Be we soldiers of Stirling, Alexander, or Auchinleck, we owe our countrymen that at least. Radio in a household living room. With all these demands and shortage of coal, it's up to the household to economize. But what are we going to put in that grate this winter? Tea leaves? No, don't get excited, ma'am. Blimey! Who's that? Only me. What I was going to say is that the government is asking you to do two things. Order your coal as soon as possible and take 10% in coal and coke or anthracite. But does coke make really good fire? Oh yes, if you go the right way about it. You can light the fire in the ordinary way with coal, using small lumps. Thank you. When it is going well, add some coke or anthracite to the front or back. Thank you. Oh, and remember to keep the underside clear of ash so you get a good draft. There you are. So remember, order it now, and remember to get 10% coke or anthracite. Good burning. Nice day. Oi! What about our radio? We want to hear it now. Sorry, I forgot. But remember, order now. 10% coke or anthracite. Not many decisions yet. I'm guessing we'll get... I might wait until Reconstruction or Citizenship Reborn. If I had to guess. I'll get up to... I'll go to speed 5. Trying to decide, I think I'm gonna go for NDL for the parties from here. Just cause, you know, good old Union Jack. Feels a little pointless, you know, do all of this in the name of your majesty if, you know, or her majesty if her majesty doesn't come back. And I think the other two just stop that from happening, so I don't know. Wars are not accurate affairs. As often as not, a shell or bomb will miss its target entirely, and with significant fighting in urban and rural areas of England alike, we now face the unfortunate problem of numerous explosive devices, including actual landmines, which, for one reason or another, fail to detonate as they were intended to. Using an all-volunteer force, Claude Auchinleck and Bill Alexander have catalogued all the areas with the highest number of unexploded munitions and sent demining crews in to slowly solve the problem. This might well take years to effect fully, and it's entirely possible that England will never be 100% free of explosive refuse, but it will be an improvement for our people. So let's do it. It'll get rid of our food insecurity, which is hurting us pretty badly. Okay, our Navy. You guys can just chill out, okay? Just stop. No. Go home, boys. Alright, I'll give you the orders when the time comes. Okay. I'll root for the anarchists just because I want stuff to actually happen in Krasnoyarsk. I mean, you know. I was giving the anarchists a lot of shit. I've noticed in the part of the LP I've been doing. One of the LPs I've been doing the recent parts. Mainly because, you know, I was fighting against them and they were kind of kicking my ass. But to the Black Army's credit, it can be probably one of the better unifiers. And looking at how fucking Amor is winning right now. Oh my god. That's fucking cursed. I'm definitely probably gonna win one of the more blessed paths. Uh-oh, Tukhachevsky. I don't like that. Anyway. A car pulls up to a farm in Islip, a village in Kidlington. 6 men hop out, 1 officer, a sergeant, and 4 soldiers. The area was the site of heavy fighting in the Civil War. The farmer is unable to plow his fields due to the amount of unexploded ordnance. It's a valid concern, especially at sites which are prone to digging. Just last week, a man was killed by an S-mine outside of Ipswich while digging a drainage ditch. One of these soldiers takes out a metal detector and begins scanning the ground in front of him. The others walk behind, the other soldiers carrying shovels. After a short walk, the man with the metal detector hears something unusual in his headphones. He stops, scouts the area a bit with his underground sonar, and then raises his hand. The sergeant and officer come over, as well as a man with a shovel, lightly digging the surface up. They try to find the source of a disturbance. Most of the time it's nothing, just some lost object or piece of scrap, but this time, it's something to be scared of. It's an artillery shell that had failed to explode upon landing. They dig around the nose gently. Then a man removes the fuse of a shell with delicate precision. He pulls it clear. The shell is now disarmed. Another man takes the case and begins pulling out the plastic explosive inside. It will be burned later with any other ordnance they find there. The men march on behind with the man with the metal detector. There are thousands of acres of England contaminated with ordnance, and they've only cleared 1 today. On to the next one. A bit more stability, which is really nice. Let's restore some trust. Years of being governed by a supposed democracy that disenfranchises the majority of the population and ruthlessly targets any dissidents has left the population extremely jaded about democracy. The general triumph of dictators over the democratic nations has also left people a bit pessimistic about our government. We'll tell them exactly why that's wrong. What we experienced was merely a Reichskommissariat with a facade thrown over it. To try and give an air of legitimacy, our government will be a true democracy and will not make the mistakes as the ones in the past. There we go. Begin diplomatic relations. I like it. Scotland and the English. I mean, of course, as long as, you know, we can go ahead and have them peacefully reintegrate. That would be nice, because I would hate to force my, to use force, you know? Especially someone who helped us. But if it is necessary, I might have to do it, you know? There goes Italy versus Croatia. Restoring trust. Could begin demobilization. Let's do that. The struggles of liberation was one undertaken by a good many tens of thousands of loyal Englishmen. From villages and factories, dockyards and farms they came, men and boys and even women who had all known that the evils of fascism and totalitarianism had to be expunged from our nation whatever the cost. The top ranks have spoken. It's been agreed that now that the struggle's over, it's time for most of our men to return home. Let them trade guns for hammers and rakes and plowshares. Let them return to normalcy. Professional corps of His Majesty's most loyal resistance fighters will stay on the course, but they will exist to form the backbone of a future English army, not to oppress the people they are supposed to protect, like the traitor force has done. That works for me. This is all supposed to be temporary anyway. We got a lot of pee-pee, goddamn. Our budget is... Okay, we're actually paying... We're actually in the green, it seems. Start trying to pay off the debt a little bit. Because that debt is not as... It's a bit too big for my liking. Christ, look at that hat. What a fucking psychopath. No normal man wears a hat like that. I'm just saying. His Majesty's Most Loyal Resistance is a volunteer force. We had no need to conscript when the vast majority of our fires were militiamen or defecting soldiers. Alas, but being a volunteer does not insulate our soldiers from the effects of combat. Shell shock is rampant amongst those units, which spent a great deal of time on the front lines, especially the militia formations which bore the brunt of much of the fighting. Many who fought for us, our cause, lost limbs, senses, and even family members when brother fought brother amidst the chaos. We owe them more than mere words can convey. We shall do our best to ensure that no one who sacrificed something dear to their person for a free England will be forgotten, and that those who sacrifice everything shall be remembered forever. And forever is a mighty long time. The English devil, huh? The playground purges. Ugh. Nothing but nonsense. Ooh. Independence for Algeria. I have not seen that before. Okay. I mean, it's still a puppet, but it's actually, you know, it's free. That's nice. Towchester had come in for heavy punishment in the war. Artillery had hit many homes, and vicious house-to-house fighting caused further damage. Many buildings were destroyed, and the citizens had fled far away from the fighting. Today they are trickling back, clearing the rubble and trying to rebuild their town. There's talk about rebuilding the St. Lawrence Church, leveled by His Majesty's most low-resistance artillery strike to dislodge a collapsed sniper. Taunton got off a bit easier than many of the other towns, but it still had massive changes. The German garrison was eliminated, and an English one was put in place. The signs of German are now gone, replaced with English road signs. For the younger citizens of Taunton, it's still a shock. One day the German soldier will just shoot at anyone out past 11. Now the English police officer just tips his hat and walks on his way. But they are getting used to it. Even the spot in London where the blast happened, this whole business is just returned to normal. Cable Street is quite as well, and cars go up and down without much thought, except for the monuments raised by the government to commemorate England's long and eventual struggle towards freedom and liberation. All towards the country, people put the worst of Civil War behind them, as well as the unpleasant bits of the aftermath as well. The darkest chapter in England's history has left deep scars, but they are no longer cuts. And now England can move towards a better tomorrow. Under freedom, we keep marching through. Let's do a guiding hand. Every revolution has its heroes, ones who risked their lives and freedom to create a better world. But now the revolution is over, and what role should those heroes take? Bill Alexander, Claude Auchinleck, and David Stirling have all certainly done their parts in this battle, but the next phase is approaching, and they certainly don't wish to stick around too long and overstay their welcome. They will meet to decide how best to use their status in order to aid the revolution. The direct flight from London arrived at Edinburgh Airport in the early afternoon. The twin-engine aircraft taxied next to a motorcade and stopped. A set of stairs were provided for the plane, and the occupants got off. The most prominent among them was the new English ambassador to Scotland and his family. They got into a limousine provided for them by the Scottish government. The motorcade departed for the airport soon after, and after a left turn, it was a straight shot to central Edinburgh. Farmland turned into small homes, and small homes turned into multi-story commercial buildings as they arrived downtown. Holyrood Palace, the official home of the Scottish president, came into view. The vehicles were allowed on the grounds after a security check. The ambassador and his family went inside and waited while the president of Scotland finished up the last few minutes of a meeting with their economic advisor. After that, the ambassador was allowed in. The president greeted them all personally and asked what the children thought of Scotland. Then the letter of credence from Auchinleck was presented, signifying the ambassador was the official representative of England to the president. A picture was taken of a handoff with both the president of Scotland and the English ambassador smiling. God, English and Scottish people getting along. This really is this is fantasy. This photo got a lot of coverage in Scotland the next day, as well as the Scottish ambassador in England presenting his credentials at the same time. Exchanging ambassadors was a final sign for the Scottish that they were now on high diplomatic relations with England and were now respected as an independent... Wait a minute. Hold up. They also expressed the hope England would maintain this newfound feeling of goodwill and respect. If all goes well, we can be doing the same thing without the need for ambassadors. I just noticed I still have Tita Bug on. There we go. Yeah, I'm sorry, mates. That's not happening. It's a nice thought. I'll give you that. But, not nice enough for me to want to, go with it. So they're repatriating the refugees. Guiding hand. Got that done. We'll do a young democracy law. Nothing is more threatening to a fledgling state than its first steps, be it ambitious military officers or politicians seeking to make new opportunities for personal gain. It is always at the beginning that the state is most vulnerable to falling from its path. Auchinleck and Alexander are well aware of this, and more importantly, both are well aware of the possible consequences of any part of the resistance trying to subvert the democratic process. Thus, a young democracy law has been proposed, which will give the authority to a select chancellor of resistance veterans to, during the formative years of its resurrected democracy, suspend that democracy for the good of English people, if need be. Only with the mutual agreement of both Auchinleck and Alexander can this law be enacted, and only against a threat of using the guise of democracy to end or pervert it, or if he collapses democratic institutions, leaving England with good governance. That's a rough one. Guess we'll have a choice on whether we want to do it or not. Oh, we got Richard Mundy and Douglas Mundy. Okay. Oh, Charles Cockburn. It must have hurt. Poor lad. With his burned cock. Let's see what's going on in Kazakhstan. I can't believe, but can believe Montgomery's a collaborator. Yeah? I mean, he is called the traitor, so it's not the biggest stretch, I guess. So the problem is that oftentimes revolutions are not successful, said Alexander. There's power struggles or dysfunctional governments or even new despots that result, and there needs to be a way of dealing with them. So you're proposing some sort of legal mechanism to stop this, asked Auchinleck. Precisely. There needs to be some way if what we make ends up backfiring on us. Some way that we can safely set England back on course if things go a way that we won't plan. And only in emergency, if a government is crippled by dysfunction and instability. Because there may come a time when things are disastrous and threaten the entire concept of England as a state. And then what happens? Auchinleck thought it over. The Americans, when the Article of Confederation didn't work out, they had a constitutional convention called to write a new legal charter. And they did it without the will of the federal government, I recall. And they had their prominent citizens behind it, a variety of men who nobody would accuse of partisan or despotic ambitions. Washington even hated the concept of political parties. We need something like that, something that could cut around any political instability and fix any problems with England before they cripple the nation. But who would lead such an organization? Asked Auchinleck. I'm too tied up with the rights of a country and you're too far left from any others. But if we got together and ruled England by committee, better than us than anyone else. Hey, it's time to start Reconstruction. With much of the civilian leadership rendered unable to assist us due to their siding with a collaborationist government, and what civilian apparatus we do possess most likely being limited to the more local positions, it has been decided that the reconstruction of England will take place under military authority. A series of reconstruction commands, each covering a distinct region of England, shall be governed the rebuilding process, deciding on the priorities to be given for specific issues and acting as a temporary judicial and governing branch of a provisional government. Needless to say, these will be influential positions, and whoever holds them may affect the popularity of the nascent political parties in the upcoming elections. Interesting. Alright. So I'm guessing this is where we're going to start with, stuff. Ooh. A legalized potential coup! Yelled Sterling as he slammed the paper down his desk. Just what the fuck is this? David, I know you're upset, said Auchinleck, but the Young Democratic League is necessary to ensure the security of the government by giving them a legal backslide into authoritarianism. Does every government only exist by the will of King Alexander and Queen Auchinleck? If we wanted a monarchy, why don't we bloody well bring Edward out of prison to officiate it? The government hasn't held an election yet, and already we have a group of people planning to overthrow it. David, we're not... What we are doing is making a contingency plan for if the things go wrong. If we don't, what happens if things go wrong? Don't make them go wrong, or stop trying to make an extreme solution to a theoretical problem. I guess he's not going to be a member then. Darn. We got the infantry weapons improvements up and going. Oh, we got our new divisions. So we'll go ahead. Let's get some anti-tank, better anti-tank stuff. And then from here, improve infantry fighting vehicles. I think let's move. Wait, what's the gimmick for Himmler, England? It's supposed to have the same thing as England as a start. I don't think it's open yet. I think we need to finish up Reconstruction before that ends up being opened. I think that's how this works. I think. I don't know, but I think that's how it works, Thomas. Oh, Tricky Dick has resigned. First off, let's look over real quick the Kennedy presidency. Hopefully nothing will happen to Tricky Dick. Token civil right legislation. You know what that means. Oh no. Boys. Wallace might win. Might win. We'll just have to wait and see. Split half. Send them there. Half and send them there. Yeah, we have a gimmick thing. It's just not opening right quite yet. Reconstruction. What do we want to do? Let's start with Famash. Rivers clogged with the remains of bridges, shells of factories being lived in by hundreds of homeless people, vast burns of burnt wheat, fields of burnt wheat trampled on by men and machines, block after block of collapsed brick piles where homes once stood, bombs and unexploded shells being discovered every day. England is a land destroyed, a land broken beyond use, but we shall rebuild it to make England one remember, and to make an England that will lead one into the future. So we can start constructing stuff, it looks like. Well, so much for peaceful Soviet reincorporation. Who do we have in Komi? Zavenkov. Okay. So we can get a national focus. To roads. England has long known the importance of solid infrastructure. The Romans laid solid paved roads that we still use today. Our canals made us an industrial power, and our railroads brought as much of the world into a more enlightened age. Now we are mired in poverty, and our roads are destroyed. One may draw a conclusion from this. England's roads will be rebuilt. Broad highways will link our nation together. Trucks and cars will have smooth, well-built paths to any area they wish to go. And with the proper framework in place, we can begin our industrial reconstruction. It looks like that I gotta cut this part here. thanks to everyone on back at YouTube who's watching this right now. If you like this video, go and leave a like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you want to see more of this content in the future, hit the subscribe button for more uploads every weekday. It's always every Saturday. If you have any comments, feedback, concerns, anything of the sort, leave it in the comment section below. I read all the comments again. I appreciate any and all feedback you kind of folks might have for me. If you want to send a few bucks my way, I have a Patreon. If you want to chat or play games, I have a Discord. If you want to watch me do stuff live, I got a Twitch. So yeah, check that out in the link in the description below. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.